Hello, Aluxers, welcome back. We're living in crazy times, and very few of us would have predicted this current situation when we started the new decade on January 1st. Most of our world sits in complete isolation, and markets are falling all around us. But it's this kind of disaster that allows Aluxers to rise above the pack. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Here are 15 industries failing because of the coronavirus, and for the discerning Aluxer, a world of opportunity awaits to rebuild. Number 1. Malls and high streets. As infections rise, more and more countries are imposing complete social distancing rules, including limits on going to public spaces and shops for non-essentials. High streets and malls are emptying out and turning into ghost towns. No matter how impressive the sales in the clothing shop windows look, it isn't persuading the majority of shoppers to deviate from their straight path to and from the grocery store. Many shops have made the decision to switch off the lights and send their staff home to save costs and protect their employees and shoppers. This is motivating the last few shoppers who resisted online buying to switch over to home delivery, and employers like Amazon are snapping up the retrenched retail staff. Jeff Bezos recently announced he's on the hunt for 100,000 new Amazon team members. Number 2. Restaurants and bars. Social distancing is key to containing the virus. Many governments have had to force shutdowns of restaurants and bars where people haven't heeded the national call to remain away from group gatherings. The governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo, declared a total shutdown of all non-essential services and ordered everyone to stay home. All that remains open across the state are grocery stores, pharmacies, doctors, laundromats, gas stations, and limited transportation routes, meaning all bars and restaurants are closed immediately. Except for food delivery services, there's no way for these establishments to make an income. Most have closed, but some keep serving clients by delivery. Number 3. Music festivals. From South by Southwest to Coachella, Africa Burn to Glastonbury, musical festivals are called off for the foreseeable future. These events are a hotbed of germ swapping as it is, and now with a deadly virus like COVID-19 lurking, no one is taking any chances. And this has a huge knock-on effect for everyone involved, from music artists to booking agents, backstage and rigging crews, accommodation, travel, ticketing, and small businesses like food vendors will all be taking a big hit on their annual income. Many of the costs, like marketing, will never be able to be recovered. It's unclear what music festivals will be like in a world post-coronavirus. Will the public ever have an appetite for large public gatherings again after this? Only time will tell. Number 4. Sporting events. On March 11th, the NBA suspended its season when one Utah Jazz player, Rudy Gobert, tested positive. It seemed like a dramatic move, but on March 16th, the NBA posted a total of 14 positive cases of COVID-19 infections involving staff and players. Much like with music festivals, sporting events are a multi-trillion-dollar industry globally, an industry whose future now looks bleak. From Ironman triathlons to marathons, school sports tours to Premier Leagues, there isn't a fixture still standing. Even the Tokyo Olympics, set to begin on July 24th, is hanging in the balance. The financial losses to these industries are exponential, and their supporting industries like travel and hospitality are hurting too, but more on those industries later. Number 5. The beauty service industry. In a world where touching your own face is a no-go zone, there's not much attraction to head to a salon for FaceTime with a stranger who's interacting with other people all day. Sure, there's a high level of hygiene in the industry, but that doesn't make it a wise move to head out for a facial if you don't critically need one. And because none of us are really going out to see others, having your hair and nails done suddenly isn't such an essential, and most people are saving the money for now. Number 6. Gyms and the fitness industry. If you hadn't already thought about the high risk of contamination involved in a hot, sweaty, body fluid-filled workout session of gyms, then now's the time to get thinking. Many gyms and sporting facilities have shut down until governments relax the restrictions on public gatherings. The big gyms that have you locked into such ironclad contracts aren't going to be too affected. It's the smaller fitness clubs and personal trainers that are feeling the pinch as people social distance themselves and stick to isolation. Number 7. Wedding and funeral industry. Here comes the no one because group events are strictly forbidden. Weddings are being postponed left, right, and center, and funerals are on ice. In South Africa, for example, even before the official countrywide lockdown on March 26th, gatherings of more than 100 people were strictly forbidden to curb corona's spread. In the USA, on March 16th, Trump's administration recommended avoiding gatherings in groups of more than 10 people. In Australia, funerals are suspended as they're considered non-essential gatherings, but in the case they do continue, should only be in small groups with 2 meters between each person. These restrictions put a huge dampener on the wedding and funeral industry, and we can't think of a more risky gathering than a group of friends and family flying in from all over the world, all mixing with children and your elderly aunts and uncles, crammed into a stuffy venue for hours. Add in the rapid infection rate and long incubation rate of corona, and it's a recipe for disaster. The moratorium on these types of events is understandable, but it doesn't take away from the impact it's having on all the vendors involved. Photographers, catering, venues, sound and lighting are all feeling the pinch as weddings and funerals are postponed until an unknown future date. When these are allowed again, there'll also be a mad scramble for bookings. This will create a bottleneck effect on the industry that is most likely downsizing staff and resources at this stage in the game. Number 8. Cinemas, theaters, museums, and art galleries. Social distancing means keeping out of public spaces, but it also spells disaster for businesses that rely on members of the public to buy tickets and attend. The loss of income can be crushing to these industries, as many of the exhibits, artist, or movie titles were booked and paid for over a year to secure them. Then when the income doesn't come in or the season moves along, these are not costs that can be recouped. It's an overwhelming blow for the international and local art and culture scene, and will be a big blow to all associated businesses. Number 9. Airlines and travel agencies are in a nosedive. Airlines are scrambling to stay afloat as more and more travel bans are imposed to try and stop the spread of the virus. Travel agents and hospitality staff are trying to plug the holes as they hemorrhage from a loss of sales and the masses of refunds they're having to issue. TravelPerk, an online travel site, is experiencing a 50% drop in business globally, and CEO Avi Mir is bracing for further drops. They've moved their sales team into customer support to help field the masses of incoming calls and emails of concerned customers. The only business strategy at this stage for the travel industry is to resolve cancellation cases quickly and retain high customer satisfaction so that when travel reopens again, at least they'll still have a few clients to come back to them. Number 10. It's a bad time to be in the cruise liner industry. COVID has prevented cruise liners from physically docking into ports. Why? Because the spread of the virus on the ships has been so rapid. It started with a Diamond cruise in Japan being refused to dock. Its 3,700 passengers and crew were quarantined at a Japanese port on February 4th after 700 passengers tested positive. Sadly, 8 people died from COVID-19 in this case. Then the Grand Princess cruise had 21 people test positive, and all passengers were route marched into federal quarantine on U.S. soil. Passengers have been demanding full refunds and compensation, threats of class action lawsuits and reputational damage that will take a lot to salvage. And the stock market hasn't been kind either, with the 3 big hitters in the industry posting massive losses. In the past 30 days, Carnival's stock has dropped by nearly 60%, while Royal Caribbean and Norwegian have both lost 70% of their value. Number 11. Big factories and industry are a hotbed of human interaction. Factory floors can be the perfect place for the rapid spread of a disease like the coronavirus. One person could easily infect everyone in their production line and then interact with the further people in the canteen, in the locker rooms, or on public transport. One of the reasons the spread was so fast was that China is basically the factory of the world. You can find out more in this video. Because of travel bans and lockdowns, many factories and industries have been forced to shut. And when they break the supply chain, others in their wake relying on their products or parts are forced to close down too. It's in the health interest of all involved, that's undeniable. But there's also no denying the knock-on effect that no work, no pay will have on part-time or temporary staff. The loss of income for factory owners during the shutdown will be huge. Number 12. The Dutch cut flower industry is risking complete collapse. At the Aalsmeer auction, the largest flower auction in the world, 20% of its flowers presented for sale had to be disposed. Flowers from all over the world are sold daily at auction at this gigantic market. The warehouse it takes place in is the fourth largest building in the world by footprint. Prices took a 50% dive in March, causing the market to enter panic mode. Royal Flora Holland was quoted as saying, "Without emergency credit from the government and banks, many companies will go bust in a matter of weeks." Number 13. The hotel industry has been forced to shut up shop for now. Many hotels have been hit hard as international travelers have been one of the main sources of the spread of the deadly virus. Sales conferences or markets hosted by hotels allowed the virus to spread rapidly. The Marriott Long Wharf in Boston hosted a biotech company's conference in February. An infected person was there and it rapidly spread through attendees. After 2 days, dozens of corona-infected delegates left the hotel and continued to spread the virus unbeknownst to them. On March 11th, a hotel staff member tested positive and Marriott took the immediate decision to shut down. And this is just one example, but similar infections globally have led to widespread shutdowns of properties by leading hotel brands like Marriott, Hilton, Ritz-Carlton, and more. As governments increasingly call for immediate and complete shutdown, tourism and business travelers are heading home before travel bans leave them stranded. The loss of income is crippling on such large properties. It's estimated that the U.S. hotel industry alone is losing $1.4 billion in revenue every week it's not operational. And the loss of jobs as a direct result of corona will be in the region of 4 million in the U.S. There's also a further 33,000 small business hotel operators and franchise owners that will be affected. Number 14. School-related services are often small businesses dependent on fees. There are many small businesses that support the school and childcare industry, from school meals to transportation, dance lessons to sporting coaches, and generally speaking, these are no-work, no-pay services. During this time of uncertainty, many small businesses sit in limbo, waiting to see when lockdowns and social distancing will be lifted to allow them to operate once again. Number 15. Sightseeing tours and guiding industry. If you look at pictures of most of the world's most popular tourist attractions right now, they're pretty empty. That doesn't just mean tourists are staying home. That means a whole industry of touring agents, ticket vendors, food truck owners, drivers, and gift shop owners are also without work. This supports a vast number of small businesses with little to no safety net to tide them over to when travel bans are lifted. The world just sits and waits with bated breath to see how things will pan out. And we here at Alux want you to stay healthy, so stay home and keep watching our videos. We'll continue loading them daily to ensure you stay well informed. Now, before you go, Aluxers, we're curious. How has the coronavirus affected you financially? Share your story with us in the comments below. We'll be right there with you. And of course, for sticking with us until the end, here's your bonus. TEFL, or Teaching English as a Foreign Language teachers, are out of work, and the online market is completely flooded. When the reality of the coronavirus set in Asia and the Middle East, schools closed down. Other popular countries for English teachers living abroad are in Western Europe and Italy in particular. Most of these teachers are on no-work, no-pay contracts. So many of them were forced to return home without work, while others have been isolated in their apartments for the lockdown. The already flooded online English teaching industry is now inundated with TEFL qualified teachers trying to eke out an income. The competition for online sessions is fierce. Thankfully, when schools reopen, most of the contracts will be reinstated, but it has been a devastating financial knock for a lot of educators. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question on our website, Alux.com. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.